Yeah, I want to comment some more on this guy Trump. And actually, one thing I never bought into was this "Make America Great Again." I already knew hands down I will take Trump over Hillary Clinton. That's for sure. But never totally bought into the guy. Now, I do think that he's more legit than I thought at first as time goes by. Although I still know he's not 100% legit. Was never one of these people walking around with a red hat that said MAGA on it. I could tell you that right now. And never gave this guy 25 cents either. Even, hey, he's got plenty of money. Hey, have enjoy. Now, I'm going to say this. I think, and I said this a while ago, I think he's going to lose most of his wealth. People that, it's not that easy to manage what he has going here. And, it's like I can't even argue with regular people all the time. People give me arguments that I talk to personally that, well, he's got such a big ego. He doesn't want to fail as president. Well, I don't think these people understand the mindset of people like Trump. Now, I haven't worked. Well, I have worked for somebody years ago, and not directly though, not like his number two guy. I worked for people like, as their main controller, main accountant, that were not in his stratosphere, but I did work as a staff accountant for the guy that was the main competitor for Trump many years ago for several years up in New Jersey. And that was Leonard Stern. And, I used to talk to Max Stern when he was alive, the father, as a matter of fact. He was right there in the office. I was in the main accounting in there doing the books on several companies. That was years ago, back before computers even. But I can tell you that, this is a very fickle business to be in, construction, especially things like hotels, golf courses, casinos, because as discretionary spending falls, you know what people do? They cut out going to these places. Like, in other words, if you got the absolute essentials, playing golf and going to a hotel and going on vacation is not an essential thing. And that's really what Trump is heavily invested in. Now, I know a lot of people, I just want to go on a little bit of a tangent here, but I know a lot of people say that I know it's nice that he gone his salary as president. What was it, 400,000 a year? Which is pretty freaking low when you think about it. But I think that's what it is. And well, it's actually a drop in a bucket compared to what the hell he makes. But he's got a lot of other angles. I mean, the fact that he's president, people visit his he's been visiting his properties as president on weekends and going to properties. And when he shows up, more people go to his properties, more people spend more money because they want to, you know what it is. And honestly, when you're a guy that's on the top, everybody kisses your butt, everybody loves you. When you got money, they're all like blah blah blah, you know what I mean. And if you fall, everybody disappears. I mean, I'm not envying the guy or nothing like that. I'm telling you, that's the reality of the situation. But his salary as president is such, I know it's a noble thing to say that, but it's not really where you make the money as president. Even him visiting his properties is probably drawing in millions of dollars of extra business that he wouldn't have had because he's president. He visits his properties. People want to show up. Hey, Donald Trump's showing up. Let's go there. You know what I mean, right? But I could say this, that I don't think what I'm seeing is, and I put this out on the Silver video just recently. One guy gave me a hard time. He says it's old information. I said it's not really old information. It's been going on a while, I guess, maybe, but we're in the most overbought, overcredited stock market in all-time history. And it's the longest bull run. The underlying economy is bad. And, people got money that are maybe more retired, or they work for the government, which is actually going, the government's going more and more debt. And the pension funds aren't funded well with, there's way more liabilities in the pension funds than there has been. The asset to liability ratio is all skewed. in the United States, not in the United Kingdom. But what would happen is if there's a problem in the pension funds, these are where the people are going to, all these places where Trump's properties are. And one thing that is tied to the value of properties is the economic well-being and output of the country the properties is in. So in other words, well, maybe Vietnam's doing, I'm giving an example, okay, Vietnam, whatever, I'm not picking on Vietnam, but say Vietnam back in 1978, okay? Imagine 1978. You got a beautiful beach there. I mean, it's gorgeous. You got oceans, clear blue, no pollution. Is the property worth much? No, because it's in Vietnam, right? It has to do with the country's economic output and the whole infrastructure that's there. So, in other words, at one point in time, Miami beachfront property wasn't worth much too, okay? That's the whole point I'm saying is a lot of his properties are tied to how well the United States is doing. That does give him a financial incentive to keep making America great. But on the other side of it is most of his properties and most everything that's involved in his properties is fluff. It's not manufacturing, it's not agriculture, it's not mining, it's not forestry where they're, like harvesting trees for lumber or something. No, it's stuff that's not really essential. Golf, restaurants, gambling, entertainment, hotels, vacations, blah, whatever. That's one thing I was always a little like, And I could tell you, I don't think this guy's like a really bad guy or nothing, but anybody with his wealth is pretty much focused on attention, money. I think he's got a patriotic streak in him. He's not that bad, He's a lot better than I thought he was in the beginning, okay? That's my opinion on him now. It's a little bit better. But I think what's coming up is that when we have this, we're going to have, and I'm not saying this as a doom and gloomer, with the crazy drama music. We're going to have probably the greatest stock market crash for one, which is going to affect equity, not just the equity prices, but also the real estate prices, and also the areas he's in, which is basically like entertainment. People don't go to these type of places when all of a sudden they got to cut corners. And he's going to be hurting. I know, like in Atlantic City, boy, that place was really thriving when it first opened up when they got the casinos first in there. But then when they got other competition and there was downturns in the economy, I think the only place that's actually thriving today is doing very well or pretty well is the Borgata Casino and Hotel in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Most of them are freaking on the ropes. And I think that's what's going to happen with him. He's actually been, a lot of his wealth has been because his type of properties in commercial real estate, where in the larger cities, in the prime properties, have been doing very, very well. There's been a major bubble in that particular type of real estate. He's a very, very, very smart guy, though. I can tell you that. I know that. I mean, this guy is not dumb. But I think he's gonna wind up, he's gonna be in a hurt locker. And, quite honestly, anybody of his caliber is somewhat of a BS artist. There's no doubt about it. That's why I used to get aggravated at people. I mean, I was like, okay, hands down, I'm not going to freaking vote for Hillary Clinton. Miss corruption to the max, okay? I know even though Trump was buddy-buddy with the Clintons for 20-something years, always made me suspect him, but maybe he didn't like him when he was playing like he was buddy-buddy with him. I don't know. But the deal is, I think that, Trump is not, and I think people are figuring this out, but I always knew this. I'm actually thinking a little bit better of him as time's going by, but I know he's not what people, the big freaking savior everybody thinks, standing in the way of this and that, and, actually what's going to probably solve all the problems in the United States is not Trump and all his promises. It's actually going to be the United States failing to meet its debt obligations and probably a sell-off of U.S. currency overseas, which would bring back the dollar here locally, domestically, which would raise, prices give us consumer price inflation. And that's something they've been holding back. We've actually been having asset price inflation in investor class assets, which is kind of like what Trump's in. His properties, his particular type of commercial real estate is an investor class type asset. But because most of the money policies from the Federal Reserve and who they're helping out with crony capitalism is actually causing the biggest money to be flush with cash, and they invest in investor class assets, which is not ordinary assets. It's not like ordinary properties, single family houses and that kind of garbage, but types of things that are a little more niche market, which could be artwork too. It could be, things like that, or even paintings, or not just that's artwork, but also special. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it could even be types of islands and Greek islands and stuff in the Mediterranean. Something like that. That's an investor class asset, something that the average person wouldn't buy, couldn't afford. Those things are going up and they're being inflated in price. And but at one point in time, that money is actually going to go, the dollars that are being poured into the biggest people, the strongest financial, just the people strongest financially. Eventually, some of it's going to trickle down into the real economy, and you're going to see consumer price inflation. And then, Trump's promise of "Make America Great" is not going to happen, because we're going to have, I'd say, what I'm thinking is, during his administration, we're going to have the greatest stock market crash of all time. We might, I don't know, this has been, this is maybe not. I think Obama was putting the brakes on conflict with Iran, but I think Trump's administration is a lot different than that. There might be conflict with Iran. If there is, expect oil prices to go way the hell up, and then you'll see the consumers bitching about price at the gas, pump and all that type of stuff. Less discretionary spending, which would affect other businesses. So, he was smart enough to put the right spiel out there. I know Bill Clinton advised his wife to concentrate on the economy. Now, I'm not saying I like Bill Clinton, okay? I know he's a draft dodger in chief. He used to be the president. But he is very smart. He knows how to talk too, okay? And he was absolutely right. If Hillary Clinton, his wife, listened to her husband, Bill, about concentrating on the economy, it might have given her, like she was playing this stuff, I'm going to bring jobs back to America, saying the same thing Trump was saying. She might have won. Not that I wanted her to win, but that might have been enough to sway enough dumb people over to her side. But I don't think Trump is that different from any of them, to tell you the truth. But that's what's been going on for the umpteen decades. But what the real solution is if there is a major financial collapse in the United States and the government's brought down, well, I guess that's maybe not a solution all the way, because what comes in, that might be planned, what's going to fill in the vacuum. But the other side of it is this. I think a lot of people that are high up in the government are quite aware of, well, they're like confident in their position. And some of those underpinnings might get knocked out from underneath them at one point in time. And, that might be the way to freaking really change America, make America great. At least it's an opportunity to do so. Because the only thing that actually made America great is not a strong leader. It's the people themselves. It's actually less government controls, less, brakes on the economy through regulation and taxation, that allowed people to produce more and do more and pursue their economic freedoms for, in pursuit of happiness through economic output that they can get some money and profit for in their pockets by doing more, right? Without the government slowing you down, right? And that's really what it is. You know, government actually interferes with you making money. That's what happens. Unless you're on the top and you know how to get away with all this stuff. I know that Trump actually, there was a lot of stupid things they said about this guy. I remember when he was being elected about the releasing his tax returns and, the IRS. And you know what? This guy is so big that he'll have an agent, an IRS agent, that has his own office in, say, the Taj Mahal or whatever the hell it is, that goes in there. He's got his own office space with his own computer, and he talks with a controller, and he talks with whatever senior accountant management, and like several times a week, he'll be spending some hours in there, even every week, right in the guy's place, on all of these big places. He's not getting away with nothing. I mean, that was so stupid they used to put that out. I know at his level, they don't get away with nothing, man. I mean, if they're getting away with it, it's legal, okay? I mean, come on. They had experts tell him it was legal to do, and actually he wasn't involved in whatever the experts said. So, so stupid. Some of these people make some ludicrous freaking claims, but I think this guy, he's more legit than I thought at first, okay? And I think a lot of people are actually having the opposite conclusion from me. They thought this guy was going to fix everything. And, I knew that was ridiculous. But I also think he's not what you think he is. And I know, although I'm a little more on his side than I was initially, even though I voted for him because Hillary Clinton was such a bad choice, that I really think that what's coming up is he's going to be, more and more people are actually going to get disenchanted with this guy. I mean, I always knew he was bullshit, okay? I always knew this. But, what are you going to do? Vote for Hillary Clinton? Bernie Sanders? What are you going to do, right? I always knew this guy was bullshit, okay? I always knew this. And it's, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? And the other side of it, is why do people think that one guy is going to save the nation's economy? Why do people even have that concept? Isn't that fascism? Isn't fascism when a leader controls, the output, the manufacturing output, and the economic policies of the nation? Isn't that what fascism is? What is this? Is this Trump Benito Mussolini or something? For crying out loud. And I also want to make a comment about what people, the fearmongers always talk about, the elite. I'm going to say this. There are all kinds of elite in the world that think they got things figured out, and they're all competing with each other. That's common sense, right? Look back at World War II. You had Hirohito in Japan. He was an elite, right? Yeah, what happened to him? Hey, it looked like it was going good in the beginning. What happened? Bert. What happened to Benito Mussolini? What happened to him? He went up, the Pope said, get rid of him. He got rid of him. And the Pope controls, that guy is not really what you think, if you're not, well, maybe you do know. And then you got Hitler. Well, he probably escaped to Argentina, but still, his whole empire fell apart, right? I mean, at one point in time, these guys look like they're all on the top. Now, I'm not comparing this with Trump, but I'm actually comparing this with a lot of other people. The elite in general in this country. I think they're so corrupt and they lack so much honor. This guy Trump actually got some honor. He does. But most of the elite have zero honor. And that's why they're going to fall. But I don't really put all my faith in this guy. Trump, make America great again. This is one of the dumbest things in the world. And I was like, how are you making America great again? If this guy was the biggest farmer and oil producer and miner in the United States, I'd believe it. But considering he's got a bunch of hotels, casinos, and golf courses, I'm like, what does that do? What does that do? Like I said, he was a miner, lumberjack guy. I mean, if he had forest when he was doing, producing lumber, and he was a manufacturer of goods, I could see it, but nah, I don't know. But what can I tell you? I mean, he does build buildings, which is okay, you know. But the buildings he builds are actually for, I don't know. Well, sometimes I guess he builds buildings where people live in them, but a lot of it's all wrapped around entertainment and stuff. So, and just want to say that don't think this guy's got your back. He doesn't have your back. You know, I mean, he's not the worst guy in the world. I mean, there's a lot of other people we had for presidents that before him that were a lot worse. And I mean, Trump is better than anybody since JFK, and JFK wasn't perfect either. You know, I mean, he's better than Lyndon Baines Johnson. He's better than Richard Nixon. Well, Nixon was bad though for other reasons other than Watergate. He's better than Ronnie Reagan. He's better than Jimmy Carter. He's better than H.W. Bush. He's better than George Bush. He's better than Barack Obama. But to me, that isn't saying that much, I think they're all screwed up, to tell you the truth. And, it's people's mentality that you got to elect somebody to save the nation. It's like the old cliche back when the Greeks used to talk about political systems, that democracy always breaks down into a dictatorship or a tyranny because the people elect somebody to take care of all their problems. And that's what you did. That's what people have been doing with Trump. Although he's not a bad guy, but seeing how the mentality of people are, they're giving up their rights through, they have to say the government's got to fix everything for us. See? It's pretty, I mean, there should be total lack of cooperation with the government for one, as much as possible. That's one way of putting it back right back at him, because he's talking about draining the swamp, and I don't know. I mean, I know there's a lot of cartoons out about showing him draining the swamp and all this garbage, and I mean, yeah, he's doing some stuff, but I mean, what's going to really drain the swamp is if the government starts losing its spending power through debt default or whatever the hell happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, they've been talking about debt default for 8 million years, but what happened? What happened with the old Soviet Union? It looked really strong for a long period of time, and then kind of fell apart a lot faster than he thought. Now, I know there's also allegations out there that the Soviet Union actually fell apart, that it was planned, because I read about Major Anatoly Golitsyn years ago, and he said that was going to happen, and it did. Berlin Wall was going to come down. There'd be glasnost, a new awakening, and there'd be solidarity in Poland, and also we know Lech Walesa was, working with the Soviet naval intelligence. We all know this stuff. Stanislaw Rarez, who was the the Polish ambassador to Japan, he defected back in the early 80s. He was stating all this stuff. He was an expert on Lech Walesa. Guy was a bunch. It was like Lech Walesa never was what people thought he was. But the major media made him as a big hero. But the one indication that always tells me Trump is at least semi-legit is that the major media doesn't like him. You notice that? It's pretty obvious, right? Major media, anything the major media doesn't like, it's probably at least semi-legit. So, but I think that this guy doesn't really have your back all the way, and it's like, I don't want to knock the guy too much, and I'm actually more on his side than I was during the election. Although I was like, I voted for him because I just couldn't stand Hillary Clinton's corruption. and all the garbage that went on with Bill and stuff, for crying out. She didn't even have a personality, for crying out loud. She couldn't even act nice. She acted like a phony. Ew, big time. I mean, God, imagine that lady. God. Sometimes I almost wish she was elected because, all these government, pooper scooper people that follow her around. It'd be kind of funny because, I'm so disgusted with so many people in the government that, they're not out there to protect the Constitution or do the right thing, man. They're out there to secure their paycheck. That's what 99% of them are all about, and retirement, and, benefits and all this other garbage. But, Trump praises him. I mean, he's smart for doing that. I mean, it can't be, I guess if I was ever in his position, I'd be shot down so damn fast because I'd probably open my mouth and say, too much. Trump doesn't do that, He's smart enough not to do that. He's a super salesman. He's a super salesman. And, I recognized that when he was in during the campaign. This is actually, Make America Great, without the again, was Ronnie Reagan's campaign slogan. Yeah, that's where I remember that from. Yeah, that's what it was. Ronnie Reagan wasn't that bad, but then again, it was more talk than action. The bottom line was the same apparatus was controlling things from behind the scenes. Now, I think with Trump, I'm pretty damn sure he's going to be a one-term president because of what's going to happen with the economy. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I just, I thought the things were going to come down a while ago, and it actually would have been better because there's always this ebb and flow with the stock markets and the economy. Like, especially the equities, for crying out loud. I don't even know what's keeping them things up. I don't know, electronic trading, web bots trading to each other, I don't know. But there's absolutely not much going on as far as, the underlying economy that's supporting the high stock market. And that's actually what happened in the 20s. But it was 2 or 3 years ago, it was said we were on the third largest bull run of all time. And I know the second largest was the one before the dot-com bubble implosion, whatever. And then the largest one was the one with the 1920s. Then, I forgot exactly when we surpassed the dot-com bull run and, inflated in terms of inflated equities and length of time of bull run. And then we were at the second highest. And I was thinking, if it comes, in other words, if it adjusts, it does its natural thing, cool, In other words, if it adjusted maybe 4 years ago, it would have been better, or 3 years ago. Now it's at the all-time highest bubble for equities with massive credit funding the equities than it's ever been. And it's going to have a major readjustment. And when this major readjustment comes, there's a lot of danger in the pension funds, the way they're funded. And there's a lot of liabilities. There's a lot more liabilities than assets. There's been a big separation. The liabilities have been increasing faster than the assets that are backing up all the pension funds. And a lot of pension funds are invested in hedge funds, the markets. It's all gonna, they're all tied together. And what happens when that comes down? Guys, what happens is the type of stuff that Trump is invested in, which is casinos, hotels, vacation resorts, golf courses, and he's got some condo units and apartments and stuff, but that's not really, usually those are things he sells off and then they go with, the management company, and he doesn't even own them anymore, right? The stuff he actually owns is more like entertainment stuff. People are going to stop going to them, and he's going to find that he's going to wind up getting upside down. That's probably what's going to happen. For now, he's doing pretty damn good because, you know, he's got this other scam. He actually visits his places all the time while he's president on a weekend, and, you know, that helps more people come in there. I'm not saying that's bad or whatever, but he's smart to do that. But, you know, the elite don't like this guy. I know that. But that doesn't really mean this guy has got your back. Just got to put that to you, right there. He doesn't have your back all the way. We're so far gone down the freaking trail in America that I think the only way it's going to go great is if it's, you know, the economy comes way the hell down and it gets rebuilt from the ground up. That might be the way it's going to happen. So we shall see. I don't think America's long term is going to be a powerful nation the way it's been over the last 50 years since World War II. There's going to be a major change coming up, and when that major change comes up, it's never going back. It's never going back. I mean, if you look back not that many decades ago, hey, the British Empire was the big king, you know. Also, Italy was freaking, even during, I'm not just during Rome, but I'm also, you know, during the time of Venice, you know, the Venetian banking empire, or the Holy Roman Empire, too. Spanish Empire. I think the United States is pretty much done. And, you know, there's a lot of indications also from the Rothschilds that they're going to be investing more in China and Russia. And hell with this side of the world, too, period. So, I don't know. We'll see. I don't think this guy's, you know, I don't know. I don't know 110% because I've always had suspicions of Trump. But under the circumstances, there's absolutely nothing I can do about this. Nothing. But I always like pointing out to people, you know, before when I was pointing it out to people, I couldn't say much because it looked like it was a Trump basher. Now I'm a little bit more, you know, I know he's BSer. I know he's a scammer. I mean, that just goes along with his money, right? And his business expertise, and he's very smart. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but they all are like this, you know. But what I'm saying is, people just believe in this guy like he was Santa Claus, 110%. He's the big savior. He's going to come in there and fix everything. First off, that's a bad freaking thing to do. You don't want to have anybody having that kind of power. And, you know, you don't want the government having that kind of power at all, period. And the other thing is, you know, he's a salesman. But now people are actually jumping ship on this guy left and right. I'm not. I mean, I'm actually a little more on his side. Though I never was on Hillary's side, okay? Get that straight. But, you know, I realize that, you know, these people that are jumping ship are, I mean, I guess they don't see the whole big picture of how things work at, you know, with the money and all this garbage. And, you know, I also got to tell you again, the elite, there's a lot of various elite, quote unquote. They're all competing with each other. They all think they're going to win. They all think this, and they all think, they all got these plans. Nobody freaking knows how it's going to come out. You know, everybody thinks they got everything figured out. They don't know. My personal opinion is, I think the elite in the United States, they're probably done. They're probably finished. They're probably done with a fork in it. Actually, I think the people that are in China and even Russia probably are more disciplined with their long-range plans than the elite are in the United States. And we're probably gonna see. I mean, I don't think the United States is gonna go away. I don't think the United States is gonna be a third world country, and I don't think the United States is gonna have low importance, but it's not gonna be the superpower it was after this next big crash comes. And I think that this next big crash is gonna drastically affect Donald Trump. I think it's going to happen before the next election of 2020. And he's going to be affected greatly financially. And also he's going to, it's going to affect him as far as like his political clout. Because his Make America Great promise was a great campaign slogan. But it's going to look bad when the markets come down and all this equity disappears and the pension funds have problems. And, retirees might have problems and all this other garbage. So, word to the wise. I mean, like I said, I'm finding out, I think he's more legit than I thought he was. He released the JFK files. He released the memo. He said, he went out, he fired James Comey. He's more legit than I thought he was. Way more legit. But, I mean, don't expect Santa Claus to go jump in the freaking White House and fix everything. And that's what people are thinking. That's dumb. It's dumb. And, blindly supporting, what you got to do? You got to think independent. Don't think about the government. Just think about your own crap. And that's why in my video, actually on a lot of my channel, I try to get in some nuts and bolts, practical things. Try to help people out with little stuff that can help them out, how to do stuff. Rather than going in with all this theoretical stuff that I'm talking about here right now. But what I'm telling you right now is common sense stuff. And, I'm not against Trump. But then again, I realize he's not Santa Claus. And, I realize, he's a super salesman. He's a BS artist, okay? Not really wrong with that. I mean, they all are. But, it's what he is, okay? I mean, they all are, okay? I mean, he's not that bad of a guy. He's not that bad. But, it's like things are so far gone because everybody's looked to government to fix everything for them all along that we've given up all our freedoms over this for a long time already. And, if you look at what's going on recently with all the, video, I can't even say this on YouTube, the things that happen in Florida and Vegas and all this garbage. Hey, you know what's going on with that. That's the alphabet agencies, right? And I think, Trump, maybe he can't say nothing about that because maybe he'll get whacked. Maybe that's the problem right there, too, right? Sometimes a little disappointing in him that he doesn't say more about that, but then maybe he's afraid, I'll be done. Like, they almost whacked freaking Ronnie Reagan. Remember that? So, that's another factor, too. We the people are going to have to take charge. We can't just elect somebody to fix all our problems. That's really what it comes down to. Over and out.